doing that for the congregation while I put, you know.
everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Eastrose Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, to everyone online and everyone here in our chapel. If you're a first-time visitor, we want to extend a special welcome to you. My name is Patty Walsh, and I will be the worship leader today. Our speaker is our own Carol Knox. Her topic today is a conversation with a Mayfly. Carol became a member of Eastrose in the 70s so that her children would be brought up, taught her philosophy, our philosophy. Her purpose at Eastrose has become so much more. Over the years, Carol has been a pulpit speaker, a worship leader, been on the board, involved in pretty much every committee, in the singing choir, the speech choir, and has worked in one form or another on many of our fundraisers. Eastrose acknowledges that over the last 13,000 years, many tribes and bands of peoples have made their homes here on this land where our church and our communities now stand. We remember and honor those who made their homes in this land, those who are here now, and those who lived here before. In peace, may we share this land and honor one another. Let us now take a moment to greet each other, here in the chapel and online. Please stand, face the cameras behind the clock over there, and wave to our folks online. Now, if you could please, yes, say hello to each other. You can continue all these great conversations over coffee and tea after the service. For our online guests, if you would like to share a joy or concern during that portion of the service, please enter it now in this text sent part of the streaming video, the streaming chat. They will be shared with everyone. I also want to encourage you to identify yourself so that we may better acknowledge your presence with us today. Now, please join us in the responsive call to worship entitled Deepen. Words will be on the screen. I will read the italicized words, and you will read the regular words in white. We would go deeper.
We would become the selves we cannot even imagine today.
We would become courageous.
We would grow to life in congregations filled with different perspectives.
We would know unutterable joy.
We would be filled with gratitude.
May we go deeper.
May our time together open our hearts and sharpen our minds.
May our learning know no end.
May we find the sacred within and around us.
May we find our way to the depth of our being and there know holiness. And I read your line. May we see the beauty in each other's faces.
May we find our way to the depth of our being and there know holiness.
we light our chalice this morning. Light of our creative spirits. Light of our wise souls. Light of our wondering and curious minds. Light of love for this place, this people, this work. Illuminate our hearts and the spaces between them in this sacred time of unfolding. Blessed be. Welcome to this morning, this day, and this opportunity to be together in community, which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenge. This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we've figured out life's questions or because we've got it right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. Let us now move into worship, willing to be authentic with each other, honest with ourselves, and open to connection at all times. Please now rise as you are willing and able, in body or in spirit, and sing with us number 175 in the gray hymnal, We Celebrate the Web of Life. That's hymn number 175. We now invite the young folks to come forward to hear the story for all ages, entitled The Mayfly and the Methuselah Tree. Tara Toler, our family education minister, will be reading.
So today's story is called The Mayfly and the Methuselah Tree. It's by Bob Zaslow with pictures by Robert Askew. It's a conversation between these two characters, the insect and the tree. Now, the Methuselah tree is a real tree. It's a Great Basin bristlecone pine tree, and it stands in the White Mountains of Eastern California. It might be the oldest tree, at least that we know of, in the world. It's 4,855 years old right now. A mayfly is an insect that spends most of its life cycle underwater. When they reach adulthood, they come out of the water and transform into flying insects, but only for about 1 day, then they die. In fact, in many species, the adults don't even have mouths. They don't live long enough to need to eat. So what might a mayfly and the Methuselah tree have to say to each other? What could they learn from each other? Let's find out. The mayfly and the Methuselah tree. In the White Mountains of Inyo County, California, the Methuselah tree woke up to another birthday in his ancient pine forest. He was born 1,700,077 days ago, making him older than the pyramids of Egypt. Ho-hum, said the Methuselah tree. He looked around at the same thing he saw yesterday morning, and the morning before that, and the morning before that, and the morning before that, and all the way back to 1,700,077 mornings ago. Ho-hum, he yawned again. Every day was the same as every other for more than 4,850 years. He had seen it all and now was just bored, bored, bored. There's nothing new under the sun, he grumbled, and closed his eyes for the 1,700,077th time. But he opened them again when a tiny blue mayfly came flitting in from the north and landed on a leaf belonging to the Methuselah tree. Hey, watch where you land, little bug. Your leaves are so beautiful, said the mayfly, and so are you. I've never seen such beautiful branches, and your trunk is all twisted and gnarled, and I think you're the most beautiful tree in all the world. The mayfly buzzed around the Methuselah tree with delight. Ooh, can you feel the breeze I'm making with my wings? But the tree snorted back. You're just a tiny mayfly. What do you know about beauty or breezes, or anything at all, for that matter? I don't know exactly. I just feel it in here, she said. And then she flitted to the base of the tree and stopped to smell some Sierra columbine flowers. Oh, you're so lucky to breathe in this air every day. But the Methuselah tree said, I don't smell them anymore. The mayfly buzzed around the ancient tree, flying up to the top of his tiniest branches and down to his massive trunk, shouting, whee! Besides, said the Methuselah tree, what have you got to be so happy about? You only live for one day. What does that mean? Asked the mayfly. You don't know? It means you're not going to be here tomorrow. What's tomorrow mean? She asked. Oh, what's the use? Look, you have no right to be so happy. Oh, well then why? The mayfly hesitated because she didn't want to appear rude. Why what? Well, why are you so unhappy? Asked the mayfly. Unhappy? Me? I'm sorry, what do I know? I haven't even seen a sunset yet. Okay, bye-bye. The Methuselah tree looked up. Hey, bug, wait. I want you to stay a while longer. Why? I'm not sure. Well, how could that be? You're so wise. Maybe I'm not so wise. Bug, I think I should say thank you. Thank me for what? For reminding me to really see the leaves and feel the breeze and smell the flowers. You're welcome. I'm going to fly off and see what's over that hill, okay? Okay. Nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you, indeed, said the tree. And that's how, on the Methuselah tree's 1,700,077th day, he felt a little bit like it was his first. Now, the mayfly in the story didn't know anything about yesterdays or tomorrows, and as a result, lived completely in the moment. This was a good reminder to the Methuselah tree and to us to stay lovingly and mindfully aware and appreciative of what is right now. And now the grown-ups will continue the conversation while we move into our classroom. So if the people along the center aisle could form a bridge, we'll sing the children out.
Please join me in singing Spirit of Life, number 1, 2, 3 in your gray hymnal. Of course, the words are on the screen too, but I like to look at the hymnal for the music. All right, then, let's have Spirit of Life.
I now invite you into that quiet time we share each Sunday. Please gently close your eyes, put your feet flat on the floor, sit back in your seat, uncross your arms and rest your hands gently. Drop and relax your shoulders. And see if you can, with your eyes closed, just be in yourself to create spaciousness. No hard thinking, no problem solving, no wondering what's for lunch. Just breathe. Breathe in slowly through your nose for at least 4 beats. Then breathe out through your mouth for 5 or 6 beats. Breathe in a steady rhythm, creating spaciousness from the crown of your head through your body to your feet rooted in the ground. Whatever you need to create the spaciousness, whatever you want to be the spaciousness, fill yourself with that energy, maybe with self-love. Let us now all breathe together. Slowly back to this space. Take in an inhale, and then a big cleansing exhale.
Good morning. I discovered this reading, A Conversation with a Mayfly, in a decades-long pile of papers that I finally decided I should either throw away or keep or put them in organize them or whatever. But I have no idea where this came from. It just was there in this pile. I remember somebody, but I don't remember who, giving it to me and saying, I think you'd like this. And then it got put away and forgotten. And I don't know who the author is. I Googled it. It's not on Google. I don't know anything about it, but I love it. So I wanted to share it with you and my thoughts about it. So I wanted to say I'm very pleased that Tara's choice for the children's story, The Mayfly and the Methuselah Tree, is perfect for the theme, and I'm going to read to you the adult version of the story, story time for us now, which is that I'm going to read it right now, and I wanted you to realize that it requires suspension of disbelief, as do many of my favorite stories. One day, as I sat thinking about the world and what it means, a mayfly blew against my window, clung there, delicate, translucent, trembling, frail, rose, was caught by a passing breeze, and in a moment vanished. I thought, here is a mayfly, which lives only for a day, making winged love and fluttering on the summer breeze, and falls into a fish's mouth. How can a world so cruel be the work of a love so intelligent as the maker of this world would have to be? Then I cried out, oh God, if there is a God, explain this to me. I listened. Much to my surprise, I heard an answering voice. It was not God's. The mayfly had flown back and was clinging again to my window pane. And this little creature was speaking. Because I will die, said the mayfly, would you not let me be born? Oh, that's not what I meant at all, I said. I would have made you different, wonderfully different. I'd have made you sturdy, strong, impervious to time. Time? What is time? Said the mayfly. Have you ever heard me complaining that I have too short a time? I was complaining for you. You may accept your fate, but I cannot. In fact, you make me doubt that there is any meaning in the world at all. I can't see how God could create such a cruel and meaningless existence as a mayfly's, finished the mayfly. Cruel and meaningless? To whom? Not to me, certainly. I find my existence very meaningful to me. And I have never heard of any commandment from God or any law of nature that decrees I must be meaningful to you. Well, I'm not belittling mayflies. I just suddenly saw that we're all, alas, all mayflies in a mayfly kind of world. As to our all being mayflies, said the mayfly, forgive me, dear little woman, but I can think of nothing that so little resembles a mayfly as you. Well, I just meant that in a general sense. You aren't making general sense or any sense at all, said the mayfly. You don't understand what I'm trying to say, do you? You don't understand what you are trying to say, do you? Said the mayfly. Now I had it reached the end of my patience with this insect. You poor little ephemeraridae, I do pity you, I said. It is you who have named me that, but then you call yourself Homo sapiens, said the mayfly, and I thought I heard it tittering under its antennae. As to my proper name, it might surprise you to know that it is Sir Dalliance O'Day, Lord of the Eternal Moment, though some of my friends call me Lover Boy. But enough of this. I have a rendezvous. Her name is Lady Sans Souci, but I call her Sassy. And then with a carefree dip and swoop, he went bobbing off into the night, out of sight. Then I heard my own voice saying, "And you, because you will die, would you rather not have been born?" And then I thought, I can only wish because I have been born. What is not cannot wish to be or not to be. Then I saw that mayflies, being a mayfly, demands certain risks and perils and anxieties and agonies. Likewise, a human being's being a human being. Then I saw that each thing suffers and dies, but each has the unique experience of being itself, something exquisitely original and special, living a life nothing else has ever lived or ever will. And it is because of this that it has meaning. My meaning rises from the fact that I am not you. I am myself. The end. An aside here. The truth of the matter, and Tara did touch on this also, is that the mayfly doesn't live for just a day. It actually lives for weeks and months, even years. I got curious about this. I had to look it up. But it lives in the nymph stage, foraging for food in the muck at the bottom of a freshwater lake. And another aside, mayflies are dying out because they're no longer fresh water, these lakes. Just an aside. And then, here's where we get the erroneous idea that they only live for a day. They lose their mouths and any processing of food organs which fill with air, which makes them float to the top of the water. They shed their outer skin and fly with newfound wings into the sky to mate. They die as soon as they've accomplished that one and only purpose of the adult fly. So it's the adult fly that lives only for a day. Or, well, actually, it could take a minute or it could take hours. So death and brevity of life seem like the most obvious themes to discuss after the readings, so I'll mention a couple of my thoughts on that. No matter how long or short one's life is, if one ceases to exist at the end, the length doesn't matter. Remember the mayfly asking, "Because I die, would you not let me be born?" Now there's the crux of the whole matter. So I would like for you to just keep that question in mind, and we'll discuss it during discussion time. I have a problem with this theme. When I discovered the idea of mortality at the age of 25, I said to myself, a quarter of a century old. So that gave me a realization that I'm aging. I had the nervous breakdown. Well, they didn't call it, they didn't know about panic attacks at the time. But it was the granddaddy of all panic attacks and lasted for months. So I think it's fair to call it a nervous breakdown. And another at 50, a half a century old. And another when my children turned 50. So I really don't want to discuss mortality or think about it at all anymore, since at 82, I'm getting too close for comfort. I'm hoping I'll have reached a peaceful acceptance of it when the time comes, when I'm well over 100, maybe. One of the themes I do like to talk about is the misunderstanding of the two creatures. They've come across each other quite by accident, and neither knows anything about the other. They spend a great deal of time disagreeing over the worth of the Mayfly's life. Of course, this has come about because the narrator, unknowingly, has a preconceived idea, or a prejudice, if you will, about the Mayfly, i.e., it lives too short a life for the narrator's comprehension. Therefore, she thinks the Mayfly's life is meaningless and it is to be pitied. And of course, the Mayfly's rebuttal is the opposite view. I see the Mayfly as an innocent. Innocence is a fascinating idea to me. It means the same as purity to me. It knows nothing of fear, anger, sadness. It has unrelenting confidence because it lives totally in the moment. It has no past memories, no future expectations. And the Mayfly is sharing with the narrator all that it knows of its being in the moment. The narrator's lack of comprehension causes animosity. She has a saving grace, though. She listens and she thinks about what this Sir Dalliance O'Day, Lord of the Eternal Moment, has to say, because she is overcome with an awareness that only the magic or the power of innocence can bring. This awareness becomes more like being in awe of the worth of this Mayfly, and simultaneously in awe of the worth of us all. I strongly related to this because I've experienced a prejudice of my life. Did you know that there is a prejudice against only children? I'm one. Now, did you think only child spoiled brat? Or something equally negative? I experienced this from aunts and uncles, cousins and grandparents and supposed friends. In fact, it just happened a few days ago. This person is a dear friend of mine. She's fun and kind and even tells me she loves me. If confronted, she would probably be totally surprised I felt hurt by that. After all, if one's guilty, they're fair game, aren't they? That's the power of labels and made-up repeated images and stories that come with it. The utterance of the label triggers all the phrases you heard that go with it. She's spoiled. She's lazy. She's a narcissist. Therefore, she's probably evil. And therefore, they deserve to be punished, or at least taught how bad they are. It's so much easier to think the negative things that have been fed to you than to think about positives and complexities in each being. And to think that you might be wrong is the worst thought of all, because we all have doubts about our worth, which means if we're wrong, there's one more hole in our worth. So if we keep everyone else on a notch lower than we are, we feel so much better. The irony is that this is a vicious circle. The more one puts down to a notch lower, the more people that want to put you down to a notch lower. Mind you, I don't think these things about people here. That's why I come here. Although, one never knows. I found, just a minute, I need to give it's getting dry, my throat. found a quote that for me is the answer to this. Quote, "Your worth is not a product of your intelligence, talent, looks, good works, or how much you have accomplished, nor even based on the fulfillment of expectations. It is an immeasurable and unchanging manifestation of your eternal and infinite oneness with the universe. It is intertwined with your very being. You are born worthy." Unquote. Now that makes me feel so much better. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, I don't care. It makes me feel better. This reminds me of my mother. She was very, very afraid of death, and so she believed in reincarnation. She said, "I don't know if it's true or not, it comforts me." I thought, oh, we get to think about things that others might put you down for just because they comfort you. Wow. And now we've come to the last and my favorite theme, the narrator's transition from prejudice. The way I see it, this whole story is about a glimmer. Glimmers, according to Reverend Robin in one of the petals, are small moments that spark joy or peace, which can help cue our nervous system to feel safe or calm. Micro moments that begin to shape our system in gentle ways. I've had a few, one of which I'd like to share. I was sitting at Kaiser waiting for the doctor to call me in to see if indeed I had COVID. I had tested positive at home. And really not feeling well physically, emotionally, spiritually, when I heard a baby laughing. I turned around and there was a baby around 1 or so, however old they are when they start walking, taking his first steps. His mother was watching, smiling a big smile, and every time he fell down, he would get back up and laugh and continue on. The mother would laugh with him. I'd never seen that before. Other times I'd encountered this scene, baby fell, cried, and mother would pick him up and sympathize. The world changed for me in that instant. I realized that I was witnessing one of the most joyful, important moments anyone can experience. Taking that first brave leap of faith step, one of thousands, maybe millions of steps in one's life. Not with trepidation and anguish, but laughter and joy. It has been speculated that that first human bipedal step onto the savannah is what changed our brains into something more human. Is there anything more important than that? This particular mother and baby got it right. They were celebrating. And I was privileged to be a part of that. And yes, I was diagnosed with COVID, but I had had a glimmer which changed everything. Quote, "It wasn't the world that had changed, it was the way I saw the world that had changed. When I realized that, my entire life changed," unquote. In fact, discovering this reading was a glimmer for me. That moment when one experiences a shift, as when the narrator realizes that, yes, our lives are brief, and then we fall into a fish's mouth, so to speak, but none of that matters, because in that brief moment, something happens. Something exists in the universe that is so exquisitely unique that nothing else has ever been, nor ever will be. So celebrate with great joy your wonderful, miraculous, special being that each of us is. So now we get to have discussion time. So while we're doing this, I would appreciate if you would think of, there are 3 questions I would like for you to think of. And the first one is what I said before: because I die, would you not let me be born? Or would I rather not have been born? Number 2, have you had a glimmer? Share that. Number 3, did the reading inspire you as it did me? How? If you're going to answer something, you only get to answer one of those questions. There isn't time for each of you to answer all of them. So, I'm opening it up to discussion. Yes?
I'll start. I'm Therese, and I had a glimmer, and that grass snake, that was my glimmer.
Whoa!
It was just like, you know, a snake, but it was like, oh, look. Off it went. Dark with like a red stripe along the side. Maybe that long. Little. But it was like living in my garden. My front yard garden, you know, like no pesticides, no herbicides, no lawnmower.
So how did that make you? You were happy about it?
I was peaceful. It was like, oh, something's right.
You know, that's funny because I saw a snake in a backyard. I was helping my daughter look at houses to buy, and there was this backyard that we went to, and I'm standing there looking, and this little snake, like what you described, a small snake, and I didn't think I was afraid of snakes, went by, and I had this most visceral moment of horror. I don't know why. I just, oh no, that just, I didn't want her to move there. Anyone else? Yes, John.
I want to answer the first question in 2 parts. The whole pity for the short life part reminds me of a short story that Tolkien wrote about elves, dwarves, and human lifespans, and how the elves live for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and they pity the dwarves who only live for about 450 years, who pity the humans who only live for about 60 to 70 years, who pity the elves because they're stuck here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They don't be stuck here that long. And that a lot of our perception of the worth of our time is relative. And the second is the fact that it's this larval stage that causes this massive change in the mayfly, and it reminded me of something that Buddhism says. Some sects of Buddhism, because I mean there's as many forms of Buddhism as there are Protestantism, basically, a whole lot more. One of the biggest evolutionary mistakes that happen to us is the ability to abstract reality instead of directly experience it. So we can see forward and backward in time, and we lose the immediate moment. And since we can see our own death, our instincts are responding to something that isn't even here and now. And I was thinking, a lot of them say, well, we need, of course we need to learn how to come back to now, but there's this sort of sense that we need to go back to like a previous state that a lot of them say, and I'm thinking this isn't some mistaken state, this is our larval state before we get somewhere even more advanced where we learn to live as peacefully living throughout our entire understanding of a span of time as we are living in the immediate moment. And so
in this state, this is our immediate moment for the whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
So just remember, you're a larva.
Wonderful. I picked it out of an adult stage and then So, team?
I'll speak to the first one just for a moment also in a short form, and that is, if we look at 14.5 billion years back to the Big Bang, theoretically, and who knows what happened before that, the difference between the Methuselah tree and the Mayfly in time is minuscule.
Exactly, yes.
They both
It's
had
all relative.
They both had a chance to start, go through their life and end, and they both have a chance to experience what's out there. And some of us are lucky to live much longer than the average. Some of us are not so lucky to live as long as the average. But we all live. And it's, when you look at it relative to time, what difference does it be? Is it if it's a day or a millennium?
So, did anybody contemplate the idea of, would you not want to live knowing that you will die? Yes.
I used to work at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles and worked with a lot of kids who were terminal. Not that that's a question I would ask them, but I would believe they and their parents would do it all over again.
That's my idea, yes.
For some reason, I have been contemplating time a lot, and I take myself back to, say, the Druids or Celts, where there were no clocks. And I think we've come to put so much science into what time is it, that I'm trying to release that and to know that they're measuring time by this sailing on the Earth, around the sun, through the Milky Way galaxy, and time is just the movement of all these things in the greater space of the universe, and the present is the point at which to try to be. So this is really awesome for me. Thank you.
I have, especially now, having at my stage in life, I've been contemplating time, and I still feel that we can't live totally in just the present, except for John's present, but because there are things we still need to look forward. We need to look forward to a future of what we're going to do then, and backward, and remember things, and our plans for the future depend upon our memory, and that's my reasoning. But I think we need to have more moments in living more in the moment for our enjoyment. Just play and make sure that it is an enjoying moment. I mean, lately, sometimes in the moment, a horrible thought just comes into my mind, and what was that? And then you're trying to get rid of it, and all of that is another struggle. So, I mean, you hope that you have really wonderful, joyful in living in the moment. Anyone else? Yes, Luna.
You know, I had a glimmer this morning when I showed up and I realized we were matching. But there's a belief that is often misattributed around, I don't know exactly where it comes from, that we walk through our lives backwards. And so that you can't see the future, but you can always see the past, but we're still walking. And I think about that because a lot of the time that's interpreted to mean, oh, well, you're always looking at the past, but you're not capable of seeing what's ahead. But if you go outside and you walk backwards, you can hear the cars and the trees and the breeze around you. And you may be looking back at where you've come from, but you're still experiencing the present moment. And sometimes you can feel that you're about to run into a bush, you know? And this particular reading, which I would love if you would send to me, because it's wonderful, I think really put into perspective how important it is to just not just be in the present moment, but feel that you are in the present moment.
Yes.
The sensations that we have as animals of sight and sound and touch and smell, and the experience that we are having, like the physical experience, not even the cerebral experience, but the physical experience of being in a space is so important. And I think that's what makes life worth living, whether you live 20 years or 90.
I read recently, I'm always reading about how to keep from getting Alzheimer's. And so one of them, and these articles are always telling you what to do to stave off Alzheimer's. And one of them said, walk backwards. I thought that was, well, I guess it takes, it's a challenge for a person. Yes.
I used to work with people that had had traumatic brain injury, and I have family members that have been affected by prenatal brain damage from alcohol exposure. And I see this in my son. The bubble of time that matters to him is so much smaller than the bubble of time that I think about my past and what if I get hurt and we can't live in this house, and you know, the future and stuff. But what I noticed in my work was that many of the people that are the most impaired in modern society are people whose time bubble doesn't fit. Like, you know, some woman who's had 9 kids and she keeps getting pregnant, she keeps losing her kids to child protection. You know, it's, I mean, to do birth control right, you have to have a certain amount of days back and a certain amount of days ahead that you understand. To be able to have money to pay your phone bill, you have to have a certain number of days back. And so when people's time bubbles, which is one of the things that gets impaired in certain kinds of common brain damage, like when people get, you know, knocked out, or when their moms drank while they were pregnant, common brain damage, that's what can be affected, is that sense of where you are in time. And it can cause so much chaos in someone's life.
Yeah. Okay, is there anyone else that had a thought? Yes, John.
I have a quick one about the sort of cycle of time and the need for renewal. And I really like the idea of renewal, which means sometimes when something's used up, it's time to renew it. And when Jean was commenting about visiting Bana in Holiday Park Plaza, I was reminded that about 85 years and 9 days ago, I was born there.
Okay. All right, I think it's time for us to sing our closing hymn. And that is number 311 in your gray hymnal there, in case you want to follow the music, and it's Let It Be a Dance. This is my favorite song because that is the way I feel about life. Let it be a dance. Okay. Do we stand up? Yes, please stand up as you're willing and able.
We, we pass the basket to receive your gifts in support of this fellowship and in support of our sharing partner, this quarter, Snowcap Community Charities. Snowcap Community Charities is a philanthropic organization created to provide food, clothing, advocacy, and other services to those in this area. For those participating online, you can find donation options on the screen and through the Eastrose website. If you are a first-time visitor, please let the basket pass you by. Your presence is your gift today. We remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with a faith that together we have enough. We now gratefully receive the gifts of this congregation. Keep the chalice flame burning. Be kind, be brave, be just, be merciful, be hopeful. This is how we keep the chalice flame burning until we get together again to light it anew. Time for announcements. And the first one is that the friendship dinners will be meeting again on Saturday, April 27th. So you will find sign-up sheets. They're being passed around right now in the service and also outside. Please know that April 21st is the last day to sign up to be a host. And the Rockwood community has a new local group forming to save 50 large David Douglas fir trees on 122 acres. The location is, well, there's a bunch of details here, and it looks like Janet. Is Janet here? There's Janet. Janet will be able to give you some more information about it. There are petitions, there are opportunities. So please see Janet after the service. Thank you. And now, this service is ended. If you are attending online, please exit YouTube and connect to the cafe conversations on Zoom. Those here at Eastrose are invited to remain, have some coffee and conversation. I believe there's tea also. And we hope to see you all again next week. Bring a friend.